Welcome everyone to welcome back to the Zero Fatigue podcast, episode 3. So today my name is James DeLuna, affiliated with Intrepid Powerlifting based in Makati. Next we'll have Filippo.
Filippo from Avanti here in QC,
That was Kevin.
and we have
I'm Kevin from Undaunted and based from Tarlac City.
Alright, so we'll start off with actually let's start with how just a quick rundown, Kevin, yung like how you started into PL and what got you into coaching.
Nag-start ako parang after pandemic na ata. Like, ano lang, sarili ko lang kasi before hindi ko pa afford magpa-coach ganun. And nag-start ako 531 ata. May nag-suggest lang sa akin before ng 531. Then, nag-tweak lang ako ng parang nag-incorporate lang ako ng mga bodybuilding movements into it. Tapos, parang after 6 to 8 months ata, doon ko lang nalaman na may powerlifting pala sa Pilipinas. Like, nakapag-join ako sa powerlifting group ngayon. Tapos doon ko nakilala si Coach Raymond. And then ako nag-start sa kanya doon. From there.
Okay, so actually, let me just give. I'll give like a rundown for like the audience listening. So today we're gonna be mostly talking about fatigue, but just to like start it all off, we'll go from one, what inspired our programming style. Then we'll try to go into how we handle juniors, because um, I'm pretty sure we have a lot of juniors, or like actually a growing roster of juniors in our like rosters. So then try to cohesively put it all together into how we think about, or like how give the mindset of fatigue to an athlete. So, you know, actually, okay, yeah. I want to start off with just like keep it warm. Filippo, what started your programming? Like, what inspired your programming style?
I think at this point, it's since it's been so long now already, it's kind of like a mix and match na siguro of every. I wouldn't say necessarily inspired, pero in terms of learning, I guess at the very start, especially we had when info wasn't that much available online. Really started with RTS. I guess they were the first ones na really brought programming material online accessible.
I cut off a bit. Oh, we'll just go back to it late.
And it's siguro more of the more Western. Can you hear me? Yeah,
Yeah,
more
yeah.
of the more Western, like the USAPL style, like DUP, ganyan. Right now we have the powerlifting now people na they really give out a lot of info. So I guess those are some of the inspirations. Pero to some degree, siguro also the previous coaches I were with. But at this point, it's more like you mix and match everything, and then you put your own twist to it, and you develop your own system, and then that's just I guess yours. And it might look similar to other things, pero in a way it's different. Rin.
True, true, true. Yeah, I can. I guess we can. I'll swing it down to me. Then we'll have Kevin at the end. Pero yeah, I'd say my biggest inspirations would be from my past coaches. Like just to be like super honest. Like besides Filippo's like 1 month of coaching me for like my first month. I guess one of the bigger ones would be, and going back to it, like RTS for sure from Coach Mark. Shout out Coach Method Muppet. That's where I really noticed like you can drive adaptations with simply having more RP static throughout the week, and seeing how much you like really adapt through it. Then also with RTS, right? You have like ever changing variations like from block to block even. Like their biggest thing was that oh, you could this is like also quoted from Mike T. He would be like, "Oh, or was it Mike T or some other RTS coach? He would be if you wanted something. Actually, it was from Elliot. He was saying that if you wanted something from an RTS coach and you would ask them for it, they would like kindly give it to you as well, which is really cool. And like the as much as possible incorporate it. Then, super driven with adaptations. Tapos that's when just for like humility's sake, I went through like different coaches. So afterwards with Coach Mark, I had like a year with him. Then I went through with Johan, Genghis Chan from Mayhem. Shout out to it. You know. Tapos that's where I got more influenced with or how I noticed how the US goes with like their programming style, especially with like bigger names so like Hamstring Poppy, Sean Noriega, Joey Flex, more of like okay, even Swole having to go through each block more structured with what more famously is like the 4 weeks and having to hit like the bigger sets and like the bigger driving force of the whole block in like your week 4 and like ramping it up really fast throughout it. Then as mentioned by Filippo, PL now, so much content. I guess that's where Filippo mentioned like everything like comes together and like we put our own like juice into it, stuff like that. Like put a little bit of RTS maybe, um, putting in more of like the traditional US style like 4 weeks, then maybe like the more traditional like SBD where like I started coaching myself and I did like an SBD on my like day 4, big Saturdays, stuff like that. Then it you know a lot of things on PL now like soup like brings you to like fruitions. Then I guess the rest is history. How about you, Kevin?
So, ayun. Ako nag-start kasi ako like bodybuilding talaga. Then, after nun, I met with Coach Raymond. Shout out to Raymond De Buque. Like, nag-work kami for 6 to 8 months din ata kasi that time parang sa kanya ako nag-start magpa-coach before. So, ayan. So, I grow as ano, amateur lifter dahil sa kanya. Then, after a year, parang nag-hiatus na naman ata ako. Like, nag-self-coach na naman ako. Then, from 2024, nag-try akong magpa-coach sa TSG. So, yeah, okay naman yung progress ko that time. Dapat magko-compete ako this year. Kaso, ayun, parang last year din ako, flare up yung injury ko ng mas malala na naman. Kaya I got, parang di na ako naka-get ng chance mag-compete last year and just started my rehab na lang, ganun. Tapos, ayun, ngayon, mix and match na lang din from my previous coaches. Tapos powerlifting now, yung mga newer info, ganun. Then, ayun.
Sino naging
Wala
coach
naman
mo sa
masyadong,
TSG?
kalimutan ko na yung name pero babae yun. Basta, hindi maganda yung naging separation namin. Kaya kinalimutan ko na lang din.
Okay.
Ayun.
Sige.
So
Okay.
guess to like, oh, transition. What's like? Sure, again, we're going pretty quick. I mean, like, what's your? How do you? How did you translate like learning everything and then putting it to the younger lifters like we see now? Kaya they like lifted for like a like 1 year and then they leave for stuff like that. But just that's just the extreme case, you know. So,
Mm.
what do you think is your yeah? How do you handle like juniors lifters? Because I know from your roster, you guys you actually have a lot of guys that stays, especially Leo. And I know like
Mm.
Leo even mentioned that he started powerlifting from you.
Mm.
So
Mm.
how did you think like how did that develop from your point of view?
Wala. I mean, before kasi parang walang masyadong coach talaga here sa Tarlac. Like, ang usual coach lang dito is parang more on commercial coaches, ganun. More into running, lifestyle, tsaka ano lang, health in general lang yung pagko-coach dito. Then, uh, sa circle ng powerlifting namin, if kilala mo si Carlos Honorabon
Yeah.
before, yeah, siya yung nag-refer sa akin kay Leo
Ooh, yun na pala.
na magpa-coach. Yan. Tapos yan, nag-start na kami nung pumunta siya sa gym. Tapos from there, ayun na, tuloy-tuloy na.
Okay. Because I like to bring up Leo. Because, syempre, he went on to like... The ba yung first meet was in Cebu? Or meron
Yeah,
before that?
Sable.
Yeah.
No,
That's
no,
actually my...
Sable yung first niya.
Yung first time I've ever met him. Tapos, you know, like the rest is history. He did like he did his first international comps at APAC. Did really well as well.
Mm.
I would say he's the biggest. I think he's one of the biggest hitters for 83s juniors right now. Like first, he even has like 3 years pa, diba? Yun na. So
Yeah.
what what was like one of the hurdles that you had to go through with Leo since it was like yung progress talaga is like pretty outstanding
Ang,
honestly, especially with bench, even with deadlifts at the moment.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Ang ano kasi, si Leo stand out the most because the way he approaches yung accessory movements niya. Like, I'm giving him parang, ano na, 4 to 5 accessories per day. Parang kulang pa sa kanya. So, pag may time pa siya or chance, nag-a-add na lang siya on his own, ganun. Para lang, ako, baliw yun in general.
Actually, oh, tama. Like
Yeah.
there's like something I shouldn't say, pero he does like an insane amount of redacted accessory
Accessories.
per day, diba?
Yeah, yeah.
Ganun.
Yeah.
Tapos, he just told me not to say it, pero yun na. Like he does it at home and stuff like that. Then, you know, like actually super.
Kahit di mo sabihin, alam ko na yun.
Exactly. Tapos, yeah, ever since going to KSYN with him, he's like super, I'd say super knowledgeable talaga. Like he knows his, like he knows what's wrong with his sets for sure. Like super,
Ah,
how do I say it? Super conscious talaga.
ah.
I'd
Kasi
spot him.
recently lang din. Kasi
Yeah.
parang gusto niya pa mag-improve. Ganun. So, mas naging conscious siya sa lahat ng buhat niya. Ganun.
Definitely like counting macros. I think I'm not sure if this is CF lang yan or public. Basta like he was like showing all like the proteins he eats like per day. That was one day my 270 siya.
Oh.
Kahit 83 lang. I'm
Ah,
like, calm down.
tapos, did he ever told you yung nagbe-blender siya ng karne sa inumin niya?
Which one? Chicken ba?
Di ko alam kung chicken or beef ata yun eh. Pero may time pati tuna ata, blender na niya eh.
Oh, I know. I know a few people have done that. Si Meat Bucket, naka chicken breast shake. Ayos.
Grabe.
Tapos, ano pa? Yeah. Count his macros. Ano? What's something added? PT siya din. So, medyo knowledgeable siya din. Like PT student. Sorry.
Yeah.
Then, how to wrap this? What's something besides Leo? Like, let's say, maybe JC? If anyone knows JC, like 120,
Yeah.
tapos, he's cutting at the moment, diba?
Oo.
Like, what's something that you had to go through with him as a junior, especially? Maybe kahit mental aspect of it.
Si JC?
Yeah.
Or in general na mga
Actually,
kinukoach ko as
yeah, let's go
junior?
general for sure, general.
Depende kasi individually eh. Pero pag junior kasi sobrang neurotic nila. Like, sobrang daming iniisip. Ah, pero parang less na iniisip nila which is yung training. Parang mas importante sa kanila yung parang how's my form, ganun. Parang anong kailangan kong gawin para lumakas ng ganito. Parang lahat ng tatanong nila sa akin if ano lumakas, pero yung sleep, recovery, and diet nila, parang yun yung pinaka-least na priority nila at the moment. Ganun. So, ayun, yun lang yung mahirap sa coaching as juniors and sub-juniors din. Parang sobrang daming tanong, gustong lumakas, gusto ng shortcut, pero wala, hindi sila, parang inconsistent din mag-training, ganun. Tapos, which most likely sila yung mabilis ma-burnout sa PL. Ganun.
Definitely. Okay, Filippo. What do you think? What would you like to add for like handling juniors? Or kahit like, I want to say, actually juniors in general talaga. Like just the lower bracket audience, like younger bracket.
Actually, it's funny because if looking at the people I coach, I actually don't coach a lot of juniors. Siguro mostly mga open na. Pero a lot of these people were also people na I coached when they were juniors, like medyo tumanda na. And I think one thing that's really important to note is usually they'd have a very young age sa sport. Kaya yung time horizon nila is very small, or like yung comparison is like, let's say you've been in the sport for 2 years pa lang. Um, Parang iniisip mo in 1 year yung progress mo, ganito na. And then in 2 years siguro isip nila plus 200 na sa total, whatever. Like crazy numbers sinasabi palagi pag juniors. And I think um, tama, same with Kevin. I think they focus so much on goals and numbers and not necessarily the process they need to undergo, or like what it takes to achieve certain things. Yeah, I think a lot of these juniors don't really make it to the open because they have a very specific view of what keeps them in the sport. And yeah, I think with how young the sport is sa Philippines, diba? If you're a junior and you total something not necessarily high, parang mediocre, let's say mediocre total, kaya mo nang mag-medal kasi onti lang naman yung junior, medyo baguhan lahat yung mga junior, ganun. And then they reach open and they're like, oh, I have to do this to podium. And I think a lot of them kind of get disheartened and they're like, just stop altogether kasi they focus so much on the outcome, na ang layo pa pala noon, and then they just give up. But yeah, I think with that you
Sayang. He'll come back in a bit.
so yeah, as a coach, I think you have to be able to kind of ride with their delusions in a way na you still want to motivate them to like try ganyan, but you also have to slowly bring them down to reality na this is what it takes, and then use their passion, use their drive as like a reason for them to try even harder. Like for example, okay, I know you want to be this, I know you want to do this record, you want to win that, whatever. If you really want to do this, then you have to do all these things like track your food, sleep properly, ganyan ganyan. and then you have to challenge them that way. I think is what's gonna for some people that's what pushes them. Kasi yung just the thought of like being disciplined and everything, I think is not really very developed with them. Like medyo magulo, like especially with sleep. You know, you've been a student before, diba? I mean, James, you're still in school, but like students have such bad sleep patterns na not necessarily you don't necessarily have to sleep that way. It's just that they're so used to having these magulo na sleep patterns and everything. And I think these are little things na we're not even getting into training yet, but it's just like yung recovery side that Kevin was saying. I think is something that they need to develop and yeah.
I guess that's like one of the biggest things for sure. Like motivation drives a junior so much. Like I can just recall myself like first year into lifting. I'm so happy I got through like the 3 year curse. I'm like coining it or something, or like we coined it. That first year it all comes to like motivation. The fact that I was like I had 250 on my first meet, and not a lot were doing it from like my point of view, but my bench was like still 90, so whatever. Tapos okay, I was like thinking to myself, okay, if I had 250 on my first meet, maybe I could do 300 on my next meet.
Yeah.
So like, okay, well shit, 1 plus 1 is 2. Then that's where like everything else like just like gets pushed aside. Like, oh, I had like second year of school, like externals were hitting me so hard. I had to like skip some training as well. Like I wasn't focusing as much of because if you don't take care of yourself outside of the gym, what is the point of feedback coming to your coach? Like you might not even notice their feedback as well because you're so worried about like everything else, like, oh, I should be like doing this like assignment, or like I should be doing this paper. Then all of a sudden I'm like, damn, I'm going into training and I literally forgot everything I said, everything what my coach has said. Then everything that gets like shit hits the fan, right? Then in my case I like stalled on deadlifts by a lot just because I wasn't taking care of externals. Then neuroticism like really crawled in. Cause like thinking about like, oh, okay, I didn't progress as I wanted to, but one thing that pushes and junior, I guess, is like they had the motivation. So if I'm not gonna get it today, I can get it the next day. So it's just like trying to persevere as much as possible. And I don't wanna advocate it, but then like some lifters say it as well, but getting this is probably the worst thing ever. But then from my point of view, me going through different um different coaches, like seeing what mindset, because in my opinion, from what I went through, like Philippines was compared to the US for sure. I just wanted to get like different feedbacks, and it really helped like evolve what I thought about powerlifting when it went through different coaches for sure. Like for sure I'm still gonna like have stuff retained from my last coach and learn and like apply it into this into my training. But it's just that, okay, now that I know what to do and I can like push it and have my coach to also advocate for it and like make me push it as well, like pushes me to keep going. So then it's also the maturity at the end of it, knowing that your coach wants you to do this and knows, I mean, we'll say like like some people, it's kind of might sound toxic, but then if you don't know what you're getting into in training, then maybe your coach isn't not explaining it as much in the first place. Pero that's besides the point. Pushing yourself and knowing that this is what needs to be done, and then you can notice that the conversion is that okay, you hit a PR. That's like the biggest thing, and like just trying to be mature about it and know what you should really do to really push your training. Um, so how do I cap this? Wala lang. I think we can push on to, or I'll try to ask more questions for Felipe, like from Filippo. What what do you think is like peak powerlifting maturity?
I think it's when you well I don't know about peak, but I think
Progressive. Yeah.
it's when you start to look at training as training and not as an outlet to showcase or like to perform or like and it's really hard nowadays because the meta, I guess, in programming device is very geared towards week 4 SBD, weekly total, whatever. Kailangan PR every block, or if they don't PR every block, it's like it's a failure, ganyan. So I think people are very married to the outcome so much na kailangan PR, 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 and then they start to adjust their own training just to hit PRs. And then if they don't hit the PR, then they start feeling bad, and then they start, doubting themselves, etc. I think the longer you train and the longer you compete in powerlifting, the more you realize na my goal in training is to train hard, train smart, in order for me to achieve the best outcome I can next time I compete. Because ultimately, yung goal naman with powerlifting is to compete in a powerlifting competition. So it's. I think that's one is that those realizations na being more process oriented siguro and focusing more on the process and really just focusing on your inputs in training and also the outside variables and like making sure everything is good, like your stress, your sleep, your food, and then
Wi-Fi issues.
you realize na you're not always yeah, sorry. I was saying, yeah, being able to realize that you're not always going to be able to out you're not always going to be able to push yourself so hard if your outside variables aren't good. So there's definitely a factor there. Pero the difference I see from people na I coach who are more mature, I guess, versus not mature is they're able to well one and I think this is very important as a lifter. So if you're watching or listening, take note, especially those with coaches, is like being able to properly emotionally detach after a session in order to give feedback. I think a lot of the people who are more mature, I know naman na even if you're a mature lifter, you're probably gonna feel bad about bad sessions. Like for sure, may emotions, but then you feel like shit. Like you really you hate training. Like it went so bad. But the maturity to step back, think about what happened, give think about it logically, give proper feedback to your coach. I think that's a big sign of maturity. Because we can both feel the same thing, but two different people can approach it differently. Like one person might biglang nag-crash out sa coach na parang, oh, I hate this, I'm not progressing so much, whatever, I failed my top set, ganyan. And then there's no real feedback there. Parang more like just crashing out and like being emotional about it. Or you can like take some time, like think about what happened, think about your externals, what happened leading into the session, how did the lift felt, whatever, and then give that feedback to your coach. And then I think that second person will perform so much better because the relationship with the coach is going to be so much better now you're giving proper feedback and then you're more mature about training and ganyan. I think more people should should learn that na part of a lot of the a big part of coaching really is being able to give good feedback as an athlete talaga. Even if you have the best coach in the world, if you're not able to give good feedback, it's gonna be hard for them to really make your training as best as it can be kasi they're gonna be guessing na lang wala, like they're not getting the input from you properly. So yeah, yun lang.
Yeah, very well put. And I guess, shoot, I kind of forgot. What do you want to add? Like any Kevin? What do you think it's like? Just anything to add on Filippo's part.
Sa maturity. For me lang, it's how you handle your training per day, Kasi at times, hindi naman pare-parehas yung motivation mo to train, ganun. May times na sobrang down ka, may times na sobrang taas ng energy mo, ganun. So, it's how you manage your training days and kung paano ka magpo-perform based on that level of motivation you have that day. And para sa akin, yung maturity sa training is, yun nga, yung block-to-block basis is hindi ka lagi nakakapag-PR, ganun. Or if ever man, hindi dapat laging top single PR. Pwede naman, for me lang kasi, ang approach ko is, if hindi kaya mag-PR ng per block ng singles, ganun, we will get into rep PRs na lang from other blocks, ganun. And then progressively, mag-turnover sa singles, ganun. And yun nga, kasi based sa mga junior lifters ko and sub-juniors, parang they are so eager to hit PRs from week to week, ganun. So parang week 1 to week 3, going strong. Tapos pagdating ng week 4, parang ubos na agad yung tank nila for that week. So, ayun. So, for me lang, pag, they should be, sila mismo yung mag-cater ng fatigue nila and doesn't always have to be the coach job to do it for you kasi hindi naman alam ng coach if anong nafe-feel ng athlete mo that day, di ba?
Okay.
So, ayun.
Yeah.
Then, dapat mas maging open pa sila. Kasi sometimes, parang, may times kasi na I have an athlete na malalaman ko pa sa iba na may sumakit pala during training, ganun. Tapos hindi nila sinasabi agad. So, wala akong idea, ganun. So, yun nga, sabi nga ni Filippo, dapat mas open ka sa coach mo para yung relation niya between coach and as an athlete is ma-develop pa further. Ganun.
Definitely. Like
Yun lang naman
it's,
take ko dun.
I guess to add, it's always to look at it on the long term, and that's the biggest keyword in powerlifting and like the longevity of it. Definitely, like the fact that there's juniors, opens, even masters, that just shows that a person can like really progress throughout the years talaga. And they should progress even with like stagnations and stuff like that. Then I guess this is the best segue to go into fatigue. So just to like give like a slight overview on how we look into, or how are we gonna look into fatigue. I'll ask you guys about how much can you push your athletes, let's say possibly week to week or like block to block. What's gonna drive you into um managing the fatigue, and also like how much fatigue do you want it want there to be, basically, like do you want to have the fatigue there on a specific day, or actually just how much fatigue should you manage for an athlete, and how much should you like how much it should stay? I think we can start with Filippo.
Yeah. So it's a bit tricky. So how much fatigue do you want? How much fatigue do you think is ano ba, how much can you manage? Ganun. Well, first of all, I think fatigue, it's not really something na you paano ba? It's not an input you induce, right? It's like something that happens as an effect of training. And I think it's fatigue comes hand in hand um, with training, right? Like we have the fatigue model. Na when you train, your fitness goes up, but so does fatigue. So in order to get strong, realistically, you're gonna have to go through cycles of having fatigue go up and down as your strength goes up and down. So really, what we're looking in is if you're training, right? You want your well, realistically, you want the trend to be even if the fatigue goes up, the fitness also goes up, and the fatigue should not, or at least not all the time. That
Wi-Fi count.
Ilan na.
so yeah, no, okay. Sorry, internet issues. Pero I was saying it's not. It's more of inducing the proper amount of stimulus, siguro. Na your fitness is going up, but the fatigue isn't going up so much more than how much you're progressing. Because then you'll run into issues na the performance starts dropping a lot, and then you're not able to train as well, or you get injuries here and there. But I think what people miss, or at least what people misunderstand nowadays, especially with all this talk about fatigue, is that a lot of people think na you want to minimize fatigue or like remove fatigue or like be fresh all the time. And an example siguro is sometimes when I coach someone and they're going towards their last heavy lift of the block. Let's say merong RPE 8 na or like heavy single sa block. Some people, the session before that, ginagawa nila, they purposely reduce the load. Parang they try to taper themselves. And to me, that's like a wrong way of looking at it, especially if it's not planned. No, if you're not planned naman to taper, like so many people think of it as like, oh, I need to reduce this much fatigue so that I'm strong. But people don't realize that you're not supposed to be reducing fatigue, or you're not supposed to be looking at it as I'm reducing fatigue. You're supposed to be looking at it as what's the proper amount of training that I should do so that I'm not that fatigued, but I'm also fatigued enough so that I can progress in the my lifts, like progress basically. So yeah, I think in a way, fatigue is just a marker of how much someone can recover from the training. But syempre, the biggest point pa rin that we're tracking is the progression. You want to see if people are progressing. And if not, then you look at fatigue, if it's too much, too little. Pero we don't want, what I'm saying is we don't want fatigue to be the variable na we're only playing with, na we try to minimize it so much and we're so scared of fatigue to the point that we reduce training so much na onti na lang, or like super submax lahat, lagi, like trying to peak every time. Because at the end of the day, if you keep doing that, you're gonna end up doing so little na you just won't have enough workload to progress, which is ayun, I think something that should be said, especially for younger lifters who are new to the sport and can probably tolerate a bit more than they think they can. Yeah.
Okay, just to like add a bit more, what's the craziest interaction with an athlete you have when it comes to bringing up the topic fatigue, Filippo?
Sorry, ano, nawala.
No,
Nag-cut
right.
off.
Okay, I'll repeat. What's the craziest, or maybe let's like the weirdest interaction you had with an athlete when it comes to fatigue?
Like not craziest, but I always, or not always, but like it's very often you'd hear someone complaining na after nila week, like end of the block ganyan, they're like, oh, I'm so fatigued, I feel so tired. parang they're complaining that they're tired or like they're feeling fatigued, and then you look at their training and the lift naman went up, or like they're able to push their lift, like they're able to progress from the previous week. And um, to me it's a bit weird na people complain about that, kasi you're supposed to be training hard, or you're supposed to be working out, and working out, when you work out and you work out hard, you're gonna be tired, you're gonna feel fatigued. So I think it's very normal to feel fatigued, but I think we're just in this state in powerlifting right now na people misunderstand it and really think na the fatigue is the devil, or like fatigue is the enemy, when it's really not. Yeah.
Okay. That's all good points. Then, okay, just to like keep it different, Kevin, what's your? How do you? Let me some. Let me just circle this around. What's your biggest? Okay, I'll try to bring up Leo, since from my point of view, he's like the more I guess extreme cases when it comes to the workload he does. you know, he's the
Yeah.
because I would see him do clusters on deadlifts, and
Hmm.
like I know he ramps up his from week to week, diba? Let's say I saw his like deadlifts like recently, naka 260 siya for what was it?
Two
Was
by
it two
three.
sets or three sets?
No, three sets by two.
Three sets by
Okay.
two. At like
Yeah, yeah.
every set supposedly looks like RP9 for
RPA
me.
9.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
So
yeah.
what's your like rationale, or like what do you go into the fatigue management when it comes to Leo, since for sure you don't want him to go like start really light, possibly on like week 1. Ganun. Then like he wouldn't be as like
Uh,
prepared on his week
uh,
4. Ganun.
yeah. Pero before ganun approach ko, like parang uh like 60 away from all-time PR from week to week, ramp up ganun. Pero ngayon, since tumatanda na din kasi si Leo, and ayun, may mga body pains na, body ache, ganun. So, tinatry kong i-minimize yung load niya from week 1 until to week 4, ganun. Depende sa adaptation niya talaga. Like, there are times talaga na if kaya niya, pati externals niya maayos, ganun. Edi, maglalagay kami ng maraming accessories. And yung load management namin is more on the higher end kaysa sa lower end. Kasi mas sanay si Leo sa added fatigue kaysa sa sobrang fresh niya, ganun. Like, nung, I think that was not ata, yung nag-try kaming 1 week taper sa deadlift niya, like 1 week out, nag-heaviest deadlift siya, then parang nag-taper na kami nun, tapos parang wala. Yung instead na gumana yung taper namin, parang nag-aggressive siya, then hindi niya masyadong na fulfill yung last deadlift niya nung nuts eh. So feeling ko, mas nakaka-adapt si Leo on the higher end ng fatigue kaysa yung pupunta siya sa comp ng sobrang fresh, ganun. Siya na din nagsabi before na kasi there are times na tinatanggal ko na lahat ng accessories niya during week 3, week 4 ng peaking namin. So, parang dun nag-start up yung body pains niya pag nawawala yung accessories niya. Kasi parang for him, yung mga accessories niya is parang yun yung tinatawag na lotion is motion nga daw, diba? So, ayun. So, going to the comp nung apak, sobrang fatigue niya. Tapos taas din ng body weight niya that time eh. Nag-cut pa kami. So, ayun. Okay naman, kinalabasan. Hindi naman sobrang bumaba yung totals niya dahil sa cut and sa fatigue. Pero, on the judge, ano na lang din talaga, calls yun.
Yeah, that's like the because like what I know from Leo is that super. Di naman outlier, pero he's a workhorse talaga. Like,
Mm,
3 weeks.
sobra.
Di ba 3 weeks squat? 3 times a week squat.
3 times a week. Yeah, yeah.
Tapos, 3 times a week deadlifts din, di ba?
Hindi,
Di
hindi.
naman, dalawa lang. Sorry.
Pero, nung nut ata yun, not sure kung nuts or apak parang 3 to 4 times, pero yung 2 times niya is parang accessory work lang na deadlift ganun.
It's, yeah. Definitely just to like bridge the gap
Yeah.
talaga. So, I guess to just to like swing it back possibly to Filippo, since fatigue, I want to say, let's say the high frequency model, especially with people going through like 5 times a week, even maybe 6 times a week, it's definitely like a double edged sword. Since, let's say in Leo's case, he has so much workload given to him on his plate that
Mm.
if you're not gonna give him that much dosage of work, he's gonna feel like shit. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
what's your what's like the what can you say, like what's the best comparison when it comes to possibly like 4 times a week, where for sure the intensity is gonna be different on a six like a 5 times a week, 6 times a week, or like maybe just like put it in the bigger perspective. Let's say instead of like 3 times a week deadlift, I had 3 times a week squat from a usual like 2 times a week squat. Not sure if I articulated my question properly though.
Sorry, repeat the last 10 seconds because
Sorry.
my
Yeah, yeah.
internet.
So, what do you think
Yeah.
is like the biggest, um, like hit or miss like points you see when it comes to 2 times a week squats and like 3 times a week squats? Since, let's say this athlete goes through good progression on 6 times, then what if you want to put him on a 2 times?
Okay. Well, siguro I'll start off with like the adaptation side of things muna. So I think with everything, like with we're seeing all these like 6 times a week, like high frequency, whatever, high volume, high intensity, so you're probably gonna adapt two ways, diba? When you induce training. One, your body's gonna adapt in terms of the returns or like the gains. So like there's a law of diminishing returns. Na if something works and you keep repeating it, it's probably gonna work less and less each time. Like your body's gonna adapt to it. It's parang maging resilient siya doon. But also your body's gonna adapt to the workload in terms of recovery as well. So like work capacity, diba? So if you're only used to lifting a certain amount of, let's say, volume, tas dinagdagan mo sobra, okay, yeah, so if you're lifting a certain amount of volume, tapos biglang dinagdagan mo sobra, then if you're not adapted to the work capacity, then you're not gonna be able to recover from that. So you have to look at both ways of the adaptations, the recovery side and then the stimulus side na what do you need to progress. So with the frequency thing naman, I think it can maybe work for everyone to a certain degree if that's something na I don't know, if that's something that you think is needed, or at least if there's some certain things that you gain from that. Because I think um, the frequency part naman, the benefits are like you train the lift more often, so higher skill, more maybe better technique if you program it right, kasi you're doing it so much, nasasanay ka sa movement, ganun. But also the downsides are you have more to recover from. You have less room for error. Kailangan perfect yung recovery mo, kailangan perfect yung schedule mo kasi kung sobrang frequent ka nagbubuhat tas you miss a day or ganyan, then magulo na lahat. So I mean, I'm kind of lost with the question. Like I don't know necessarily what I can say regarding the difference of the two. It's just more of, um, I think, uh, I think like from a fatigue perspective, you can work up to the high frequency for sure, and you can maybe work up to it safely. The coach is good, and the lifter does everything properly on their end, na sa recovery. But at the same time, I'm not sure if it's worth it for everyone or like the majority of people because like I said, you're gonna run into diminishing returns. And if you're running into diminishing returns when you're doing 6 times a week or 5 times a week, and then the only way for you to progress is by doing more, tas nandun ka na agad sa end game.
Mm.
How
Agree.
else can you progress even more if na-stuck ka sa 6 times a week? We don't know kasi I don't really coach anyone like that or no one does that naman like right now sila agad na lang sila perk but theoretically speaking it's probably something that you don't want to arrive at early or at all if not necessary kasi you always want to have that possibility of being able to do more if you need to. I'm not sure but I'm not sure if that answers anything, but yeah, that's how I see it.
It adds the myth naman. Pero, yeah. It's good to see the point of views. Then, fatigue. Definitely, like, a byproduct for sure. For progress. And, let's say... Because right now, just like a... Not, I don't want to say an experiment. Because whenever you call an athlete, like a test monkey, it just seems like so derogative. Pero that's like the term that goes around a lot, especially here.
Yeah.
Like especially with like newer coaches for sure. Like people are gonna be like, oh, you're testing it on this guy, doing this on this guy. Pero just for humility sakes, I have like one athlete on 6 times SBD. Shout out Lance Cortez, head coach of I don't know why head coach. Basta coach siya
Primo
sa ano
Versa.
sa Primo. He was so into wanting to try. Um, like I really didn't want him to do it. Like there are messages where I would say like, oh, we can do just more volume on or we can do like a dedicated block on like on a volume and then just have you go from there. Then it came to me like giving in a way to like, okay, let's do 5 times frequency, like 5 times a day of not really SBD, pero I had him do 3 times. Like I guess the biggest breaker was like having people go from 2 times to 3 times, squat and deadlift. So that's what I made him do at first. So 5 times, 3 times squat, 3 times deadlift, then 5 times bench. Pero that it went through well. We somehow did 5 weeks. I don't know why we had 5 weeks, pero we wanted to extend the block to see what was like capable, like how much adaptation could be driven. Cause how to say like from PR's like story or something like there's a big difference between like why you want to do like a 4 times and 5 times a week block, right? Then my rationale was just like to milk it out really to see what since it's his first block doing 5 times a week. Then positive like adaptations, positive results. Then that's where Lance was like, "Sige, can I do 6 times now?" And I was like, "Okay, maybe we can do 6 times since you did really well in 5 times." But it was only on 3 times squat and 3 times deadlift. The biggest thing was that he wanted to try 6 times SBD, which everyone wants to do like right now. And I was thinking about it really hard. I was like, okay, maybe like if you guys saw Powell's video on like how he does it. Filippo shared me it as well. Is Filippo there or is he cut off?
Cut off ata siya.
Cut off siya dati. Shit. Basta,
Hindi gumagalaw.
I don't know if I should continue. Feel bad. Pero yun na. So, I had it on 6 times SBD.
Yeah.
So, okay, I really have to like the terms sports science especially was or like exercise like exercise science was that polarizing the days, and that's what Powell mentioned. Like you want to polarize like maybe high low days, diba? You want to like split the volume on. Oh shoot, he left now. So he comes back. What's that? Like his whole rationale was that okay, Agatha would do a good portion of her volume on this day,
Yeah.
then have it on another day, stuff like that. Like yun yung like parang the theory of polarization, yung intensity and very volume from like day to day. So that's what I got him into. Like okay, like simply lang, I'll have him do like high lows, maybe like tech, lotionist motion days, stuff like that. Tapos, yeah, we on his first week, it was gonna, he felt okay from week to week, but when the day came when because I made it so I backloaded or had his like primaries on the end of the week. So medyo na fatigue na siya from like all the 5 more days. Like the 5 days he had recently. And he felt okay. The numbers I had him do, since I wanna had it more, I wanted the RP or like the load more static from week to week, more of like a RTS style. And to mention, I only made him. I only want him to do 3 weeks, and we're gonna have it on 3 weeks long on 6 times. He felt okay on the on the day 6, but when he came into week 2,
Week 3. Week 2.
he definitely like he was telling me, okay, now I kind of regret doing it, because the amount of definitely the amount of built up fatigue from like day to day,
Yeah.
it was just a lot, and also mentally wise, he felt great. Pero you know he had time to do 6 times as well. Then I guess the key to it was that to space out the volume as much as possible. He was pushing the days, since there's a lot of built up fatigue from like day to day. He would have to do
Mm.
at this point. He was telling me that he had like elbows pains from like squatting.
Oh.
So I was okay. We'll have you do like Smith machines to like really reduce the pain on it. Then maybe like have high bar just to not like put anything more onto your low bar squat. Then on his day 6, he felt great. So it's definitely like okay. It's better to have your athlete really ramp up the volume at first, because imagine having your athlete go through 4 times to like a 6 times. You're definitely gonna injure him. Like
Yeah.
there's like no way. Then still waiting on his week 3. He's gonna finish it soon. Then it's promising. Medyo lost na ako because Filippo left. I kind of forgot. So let's say, I think fatigue isn't something that, just to bring it into a lifter's perspective, especially, fatigue isn't something that a lifter should really care as much. What do you
Yeah.
guys think about that? Especially as a junior lifter, a younger lifter, Kevin.
For me, kasi may athletes ako before na nagre-reklamo sa accessory movements lang, ganun. Like, sobrang nabu-burnout daw sila or napapagod ata, sabi nila. Kasi I like putting my accessory works on them, like RPE 9. Tapos, usually by 4 sets talaga, ganun. Para, or building mass and hypertrophy lang din all throughout the block. Since, yun nga, off-season naman and wala naman incoming competitions. So why not build as much as muscle as you can habang wala pa namang ano. So sila, parang nagre-reklamo sila na, Coach, nakakapagod yung accessories ko and it bothers may compound lips na ganun. And actually hindi naman. Like, siguro sa ano lang din yun, sa perspective nilang naglo-load sila ng as much as weight na kaya nila sa accessories na hindi naman nila nagagawa yung mind-muscle connection, ganun. Like, they are putting a lot of intensity lang and not putting on the work and effort for it to grow, ganun, or ma-feel yung muscle na nagwo-work. So, ayun. It works for me and may other athletes as well. Kaya, hindi ko magets ba't sila nagre-reklamo, ganun. So, yun lang. And pwede mo naman din mabawasan yung fatigue mo depending on the exceeding blocks if saan na kayo or if may competition kang sasalihan, ganun. So, you can reduce fatigue naman habang papalapit na yung competition na sasalihan ng athlete na yun. Ganun. Yun lang yung take ko doon.
Okay. I think let's try to end it off. Pero, how would you rank fatigue when it comes to like is it more of a beginner lifter thing, like concept, or more of like an intermediate or maybe like a advanced lifter concept? Let's start with Filippo.
I think yung fatigue management or like being very um like tracking fatigue so much. Siguro it's more of an advanced lifter thing na. Like for me, especially when you're trying to really min-max yung training and like little things affected so much na let's say you're trying to PR your squat 5 kilos in 6 months because you're advanced na talaga or like things like that na you're probably gonna see if progress slow, very slow progress if you're advanced. I think the fatigue management matters so much because that's when you really have to make sure that things show up na perfect yung timing ng lahat, maganda, the fatigue isn't affecting the strength but also you're undergoing as much workload that you can. So it's really like very very precise. But when you're new, pag mga intermediate or like beginners, I think you really don't have to worry about it so much. You really just have to worry about effort and then giving a good amount pag intermediate lifter and beginners. I think you really just have to worry about the effort you put in and then the progressions and then the recovery and not necessarily overthink the fatigue so much. Like be aware that you're gonna feel some sort of fatigue or like you're gonna feel tired. Pero if you're progressing well and you're not feeling so much like aches and pains beyond what is normal, because there's definitely a normal amount of aches and pains that you will go through eventually if you work to get stronger. That's unavoidable. I think that's a good test then to see like a power lifter kung tatagala yung first injury or yung first na may sumakit, ganun. That's really when you test someone. But again, just making sure na you just try as hard as you can, work hard, follow your program. Di naman yung RP10 lahat. Syempre follow your program. But don't worry so much about you micromanaging your own fatigue. Let your coach worry about that and just work hard and then, yeah.
Oh, Kevin, do you have any like other thoughts on if maybe it's a beginner concept or intermediate?
For me, pag beginner, ganun. Like, inaano ko talaga, minimilk ko yung progress nila. Since newbie gains, faster recovery, faster muscle growth. it in, ano ko, 6 to 1 year, ganun. And for me, ang fatigue kasi is yung driver ng growth ng muscle ng ano eh, ng newbie. So, ayun, mas gusto ko nang magbigay ng higher volume than being undertrained when you are having your newbie games, kasi dun mo makikita yung progression ng athlete if isa siyang outliner or hindi. For me lang yun, as handling as much na sobrang daming sub-juniors and juniors kasi. So yun, yung 6 months to 1 year na progress ng isang athlete is binibase ko doon kung how much they can tolerate sa volumes ng accessories, sa compound lifts, and kung paano sila nag-a-adapt sa intensity per week. Ganun.
Yeah.
Pero sa mga intermediate lifters naman, parang yun nga, doon na talaga nagmamatter yung fatigue management. If nafe-feel na nilang may sobrang masakit na ganun, may pains na all over sa katawan nila, and if nakaka-affect yung training nila sa externals din nila. Yun lang din yung take ko doon.